Working with strings is an important ability to have when we are working in JavaScript. And so let me quickly show you a few techniques on how to deal with strings. And first of all, let's get back our string from here. So this text, paste that right here. And now one of the things that we can do with strings is to call basically functions on the strings. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's create a variable called upper text, which will be the result of doing text dot to upper case. So it's clearly a function right here because of the parentheses, but we do not pass any value into it. So we do not pass the string, so the text, into it. Instead, we say text dot to uppercase, and the function will then take this text and will transform it to uppercase. So this is what we call a method. So a method is a function called on something, and we will briefly learn how to do that in a future video. But for now, just know that this is basically a function being called on the string. So if we check it out in the console, we should have this text converted to uppercase. And indeed, here it is. And there are many methods, so many functions like these that we can call on strings. We can convert them to lowercase, of course. We can find values inside of strings. We can split strings up and many other things. But that's not that important right now, because what I really want to mention you is something called template strings. So template strings is basically where we create a template and then we insert values into that template. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's create a variable called str, which simply stands for string. And now instead of the normal single quotes or the double quotes, we use these backticks. So in the English keyboard, they are right close to the number 1. And on other keyboards, I'm not sure, but you will be able to find them, I'm sure. So these backticks is what you need to create a template string. And actually, it is not even called template string, it is called a template literal. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you need these backticks. If you just write any text here, so let's say the current fact, then it will simply behave as any other normal string. So as if you had used any of the other quotes. So let's log that to the console, str. And so you see, it simply says the current fact. So just like any other string. Now what these backticks here enable you is to now place basically values into the string. So we can say the current fact is, and then you need this $sign, and then curly braces, open, close, like this. And now in here, you can place any value. And what we usually do is to put a variable in here. So we can say text. And so now this text here will be replaced with this variable. And so therefore, it is then this value right here. So the current fact is Lisbon is the capital of Portugal. Now we want some quotes here. But now these quotes, they are actually part of the string itself. So this has nothing to do with the template literal here. This is simply this character that we want so that we have these quotes right inside of the string. Okay, so this is how we basically place variables inside of strings. So we can join strings together now using this technique, so using template literals. But we can also take it one step further. So we can say it is, then again $sign. And now let's first continue to write years old. So what I'm going to do now here is to simply call the, the calc fact age function. And that is possible because calling the function will return a value. And JavaScript doesn't care where the value here comes from. So we are allowed to call a function, the function will then return a value, and JavaScript will then place that value into the string. So let's do calc fact age, let's say 2015 again, and here you go. So it is 7 years old. Nice. So this is really, really useful all the time, actually. But let's take it even further now and finish this string. Because now we can do it is probably. And now we can bring back the ternary operator. So let's do what we did before. So total upvotes, if it's greater than the votes for false, the result of calling the operator should be the string of correct. And otherwise, it should be not true. Now, and here I have a mistake. So the colon is not here. Here we have the question mark. And there you go. So here, again, JavaScript simply expects a value. And so the ternary operator is perfect for conditionally defining a value here. And so, yeah, we get not true here in our result. And that's because the total upvotes is indeed less than votes false. So right now, the false votes are 77, and therefore this condition is false. And so the value will then be not true. Let's put it to 7. And so now we say that the fact is probably correct. So that's the whole point of having people voting on the facts. Basically, it's to know if a fact is true or not. And so here we are placing all the informations about the fact in one nice sentence. We could, of course, also include these other values here into the string. And if you want to have some fun doing that, then please go ahead and do that. But the last thing I'm doing here is to improve the calc fact age function a little bit. So instead of simply returning impossible year here, we can do a bit better. So let's replace this here with the backticks like this. And so let's say impossible year needs to be less or equal then again the dollar sign and the curly braces and then the current year. And so now it makes even more sense to actually have the current year in a variable because we are using it in 2 different places. Okay, and here we have that result now. So we had a case where we were saying that the fact was from 2037. And so then we get possible year. Year needs to be less or equal 2022. And remember that this year is dynamically calculated. So if you're watching this in 2024, then you will see 2024. Okay. And that's actually all I had to tell you about working with strings. Again, it's a big topic, but for what we need in this crash course, this is more than enough.